Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can in 2002. So yes, back again with another Spielberg review, and yes, this time with the Blu-ray of Catch Me If You Can. Again, a lesser seen Spielberg, and of course it's one of his more recent ones, this century. So yes, thought I'd rewatch this tonight, and yeah, of course Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio, two actors who are definitely among my favourites. I do think Leonardo is, DiCaprio is one of the my 15 favourite actors, definitely, and Tom Hanks I absolutely love as well, in pretty much everything. Of course, this is, one of the five, roles, these collaborations, of course, with Spielberg, and it's one of the more popular ones, but again, it's an underseen Spielberg, I feel, quite underappreciated. I first saw it for the first time, last year. I've been hearing so much about this, and yeah, it's a biographical, kind of crime, very, very particular crime film, and it's definitely a comedy, kind of a satire at times, and it doesn't really feel a lot like a Spielberg actually. It has the touches of warmth, just the way he tells the story. His kind of his vision and stuff. Is always pretty much always confidence and stuff. His storytelling, and it has the kind of magic touches, but it isn't really shot like a Spielberg. Although some say, of course, he's not. Doesn't really have a style. I think he does kind of a lot of the time. This is very, very different, and just the way this film, the way the film feels is very, very different a lot of the time. It's very, very dark as well, actually. Although it definitely feels kind of upbeat at times as well, and it kind of actually it's shot a lot of the time like a Scorsese film, you could say. And yes, this film, it is very popular, of course. It's got around about an 8 or 8.1 on IMDb, and yeah, I've been looking forward to this for some time, and yes, let me tell you, this film just blew me away, and wow, just for me personally, another masterpiece from Spielberg. Yeah, I think this is extremely, extremely underrated. Not quite in my top 10 Spielbergs, but just a stunning film. This blew me away, and in this rewatch, my first rewatch of this film, just it's grown on me even more. It really is a stunning piece of work, and one of the best, if not the best, Spielberg film that I've seen. Of the kind of the century. There's another one that I'm not going to reveal if I prefer that to this yet. We'll get to that review, but this is definitely one of the very best I've seen from him this century. It's just a masterpiece in my opinion. Of course, biographical film based on, of course, real events. Frank Abagnale, of course, Junior is the main star, of course, of the film. He's our main character, our protagonist, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and then of course you've got him. He's basically a con man, a forger. It's really, really just something else. And of course, it's a spoilers review because it's not a film that you want anything spoiled for as well. It's very, very a very unexpected film. A lot of stuff that happens. Especially if you're not familiar with the actual real life events, which I wasn't really before seeing this. This is something that's really just a delight to see, without any sort of spoilers. But yes, this character is such a unique film. And this character of Leonardo plays, is such a great protagonist. Very, very complex, this film. You have Tom Hanks, who's basically the main FBI agent on his case, and yeah, Carl he plays in the film, and this is it's kind of like a Tom Hanks is on the case, of our protagonist. Is chasing him. You get some kind of time jumps and stuff. It's a bit non-linear in its storytelling. You do have some scenes where he's in prison already. He's already caught and stuff. Frank, and yes, some conversations. So it adds the mystery there, and most of the film though is told in an order. As a flow to it, of course, and you have some other things happening in the final act. But yeah. This film, it starts off mainly with kind of building up this character. You see, it adds so much emotion to the character by kind of showing his home life, his family and stuff. His father, of course, also Frank Abagnale Senior, is played by Christopher Walken, who for me is one of the best actors of all time, and especially with The Deer Hunter, it's just one of the very best performances, and he is great in this film. He got a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Interesting that Tom Hanks didn't get one, but yeah, this film is full of great performances. You have Martin Sheen, who's just whenever I see Martin Sheen in the film, it's great excitement because he's not in too much, and he is one of the finest actors for me as well. He is great in this film. He is just so good, and it's interesting how he always plays kind of warm characters, and characters who are more, simple, in a way, kind of in his later career, and then of course he's more kind of off the wall kind of unhinged characters, Badlands and stuff, and Apocalypse Now. But yeah, he plays some great characters, of course, of the century. The Departed as well, and in here he is just great. Kind of a warm character who just adds so much to them scenes. You have Amy Adams, and she is really great in the film. Just a wonderful cast, and you see this home life of this character, and it's just something else. It just adds so much emotion to this, and kind of he copies his father in many ways. But basically, this film is kind of like a fantasy film because it kind of shows a lot of the tone of the film just relates really to the character of Leonardo that plays. Just this character Frank, how he's kind of he is living in a kind of fantasy world, and the way he thinks he can get away with everything. And it's an insane film at times. This, but the actual events, are so unbelievable. At times shocking stuff. And it's a film that perfectly portrays really the mindset of this character. It's constantly something that is truly compelling in that sense. And Spielberg, although, as I say, very, very different to his other works in the way it's shot, in the way that he approaches the narrative, actually, it's definitely something that he masters here. As I say, it kind of feels like a, Scorsese at times, you could say. His later works mainly, or Goodfellas onwards, really. But yeah, it does feel like kind of that. It just feels very, very different for a Spielberg. But it doesn't feel, like it's a complete, kind of retreat from, the warmth, the heart that he brings to his films. There is definitely, moments in this film that are truly, heartfelt, and it's such a warm film, a charming one, but very, very dark, in a very bizarre way. A lot of the stuff is actually happening. It's very, very dark, and, it seems like, of course, our character Frank is always on the run. It's kind of portrays paranoia wonderfully, and you can even say it's very much like a Hitchcock at times. It's very kind of distinct influences to the film, and it's just something else. It just works perfectly in my opinion, and it feels like a warm Spielberg still, but very, very different, and just such a unique film. I was constantly kind of just shocked the first time I saw it, but always compelled. Just how kind of this character, deceives everyone. Really, he literally lies his way through his life. Yeah, you see him kind of deceiving everyone. It portrays deception wonderfully in the film, and it's something that is so kind of shocking, but it's just told in a wonderful way. There's a lot of information, of course, very precise information. But Spielberg tells the story in a way that everything you need to know, you understand it. At least I did, of course, and is. Because it's kind of non-linear as well, first, but it all kind of pieces together really, really wonderfully. And yeah, it's just such an involving plot, but balanced out perfectly with these characters, and this is a film where, yes, it's a film that portrays paranoia. He's always on the run, but the warmth particularly comes through with Tom Hanks's character, of course, with Carl, the investigator, FBI agent, and he's always on the case. He's always pursuing this character. At first, of course, through masterful scenes, he doesn't quite know what the character looks like with Frank, and then, of course, you've got that genius scene, where he finally finds out, what he's like, who he is, and of course, just so much moments of masterful tension in the film. That is one of the best scenes, of course, and then he runs out, and Tom Hanks finally realizing who he is, and then, of course, the rest of the film, is even more tense, and then it's just, of course, ironically, he kind of, as we know, again, spoilers alert, as we know, he ends up working for the FBI, and then really, really ironically, the two of these characters, in real life, remained friends for many, many years. So it's very, very, it's such a unique film, and actually just the way that Spielberg tells this is with true heart, and just mastering his visual storytelling as always. Really, just brilliant stuff. This is stunning, this film, and you've got a really, really you kind of it's definitely a thriller soundtrack, if you will, in terms of yes, the score by John Williams, it's very, very different. It is kind of, you could say it's kind of a bit Hitchcockian, kind of Bernard Herrmann kind of influence there. Yeah, it does feel like a Hitchcock at times, obviously, and yes, just brilliant stuff here. The score is great. The way it kind of allows the film to flow is very, very, interesting here. Very, very different to a lot of the John Williams scores, but just great stuff. And the visuals to the film, I love the way it's shot. A lot of some of these modern ones, from Spielberg, I've not, been as much of a fan as his 20th century works. I think definitely not quite as, visually compelling to me personally. But there has been some standouts, especially, this is one of them. I think this is masterfully shot. It's just a wonderful kind of nostalgic color palette. The production, across the board, is absolutely wonderful. All the kind of costumes and everything is something else, and just really warm in the way it's shot. And then towards the scenes later on in the timeline have more of a cold look to them. Kind of gritty and stuff, and just a perfect mesh, perfect blend. This is a truly wonderful film. The way it's shot is no less of mastery here of the visuals, and just the way revealed information by Spielberg. It's something else really here. Just the way he shoots the film is masterful, no doubt, and the editing is top notch, of course, as well. Michael Kahn, working with him here, and just has a flow to this film. It just flies by, and just the unfolding of this narrative is constantly compelling, in my opinion. And the performances, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio is on fire here. It's the same year as Gangs of New York. I'm not going to reveal what I prefer, of these two films. We'll get to that. We'll get to that film, but this is just another case, proving that Leonardo is one of my favourite actors of all time. And yeah, this isn't quite his best performance or anything, but definitely another great performance. This is something else. Level of emotion to this, and even just the way he deceives everyone. Because it's Leonardo, and you can do it. You can do all this, and you believe this character. You believe in the performance, and just it's something else. Tom Hanks as well, so great in the film. Christopher Walken is absolutely stunning in the film, although he's not quite in the second half as much. Due to story reasons, of course. But yes, Amy Adams is great. She is really, really good. A charming performance from her, and Martin Sheen, of course, as always, absolutely brilliant. And just a masterful film, really. There's nothing to flaw here, in my opinion. This is kind of top notch. Spielberg, although not one of his top tens, in my opinion, just because he's made so many masterpieces for me. This is certainly one of them, and just something else. He truly among the greatest films of the 2000s. And this is such a compelling character study, kind of a dual character study as well, with Tom Hanks in there. But yes, just the level of emotion, kind of is within this character Leonardo DiCaprio plays is really, really something else. I think it's just masterful in its its character development. This is someone who really is one of the most complex characters I've seen. Frank Abagnale, really something else here. It's very, as I say, very, very different for Spielberg. Its tone, and of course, just in its kind of content and stuff, it's very, very different. But just, I love how it's such a dramatic film. Lots of emotion in there. A wonderful kind of thriller film. A wonderful flow to it, and as well, just something very, very unique in its comedy. This is something that. When I first saw the film, I didn't think it would be. It's very, very kind of satirical at times. It's very, very upbeat a lot of the time. In a lot of the ways that it's told in the first half. Of course, his descent. Eventual descent. Him getting caught. You feel these agents gradually closing in on him, and there's a case of, you think, of course, he has to get caught at some point, and you don't want him to get caught, but of course, he's done so much crimes here, and he's got away with millions, of course. And Tom Hanks as a character who, you really learn over the film that he is, such a warm character. He's really the only one who truly cares, actually, in many regards, for this character of Frank, which is really interesting because he is you could say, in another film he would be considered the villain, Tom Hanks's character. But definitely not here. This is a very, very multi-layered film, and actually the real warmth towards Frank is actually shown through Tom Hanks's character, of Carl, and yes, just a wonderful film, in its characters. I love the kind of depth of, Christopher Walken's character as well. The kind of divorce that happens there, and this is of course things. It sets things off, in motion. But it's such a unique story, and the way it's told is no less than masterful in my opinion. This is genius stuff. I love the style of the film. I love the comedy, of course. The irony to the film, is something truly genius here. The dramatic irony as well. The way, we know, especially early on, that Tom Hanks, is literally in the room, with Leonardo DiCaprio's character in that moment, of course, and then you think, oh, he's got caught, and then, Frank, our character Frank, he tries to play him, and he actually gets away with it, almost there, and leaves the room. There's such a moment there, a genius moment, the way it's done. Something else, the level of tension in this film, it's never broken. This is constantly maintained, and just then you have this kind of bittersweet ending, but mostly kind of it's very, very satisfying, the ending. That's what I think. It's very a very complex film. It's not completely upbeat ending. It's very, very bittersweet, but of course this is biographical and stuff, and it's a very, very, it is a dark film at times. Although bizarrely you could say very upbeat as well. The way it's done though, it's just perfect in my eyes. The way he mixes these different genres, you could say, and just what he does with these characters is something that I was just really blown away with. I didn't expect this film to be this good. There's every element here just working at the highest order. If it wasn't Spielberg making this film, this would definitely be one of a director's best films, very best, because it is top class here. It's something else. But of course, because it is Spielberg, it's not quite my top 10 from him, but one of his many masterpieces. That's all I'll say, and it has to get 100%. This is a masterpiece, in my opinion. Highly, highly recommend this film. If you've not seen it, you have to check it out, and just unforgettable stuff. It's such an emotional film. It's one where I, straight away just drawn in, to this very, very mysterious and unique film. With this, his main character Frank, just being one of the most, bizarre but compelling characters I've seen in a film, really. And then you've got this building, reeling you in, of course, through kind of situations. You see how this character, is just so kind of different here and complex. The way he's dealing with things, and the way he just uses deception, to get through his life, and of course, achieve wealth, and all the things he kind of thinks he wants. And then of course you've got the tragedy of the film as well. It's a very, very tragic film, very sad, but then it's as always with Spielberg, really, very, very warm and heartfelt. The relationships in the film, are just so wonderful. Of course, with the mother, as we know, you don't really, it never really comes back, in that sense. But I love the relationship with him and Chris Walken. The film, his character, the two Franks, the father-son relationship is really something else. But then again, you've kind of got Tom Hanks kind of acting in a very bizarre way, like his father figure. He's someone who does definitely, you feel he cares for this character, Frank, and it's a very, very complex film. It's hard to review, and say precisely what this relationship is, but it's just the film is so complex. It's so multi-layered and very, very different. This one, it's just as a thriller, constantly, this is constantly masterful in my opinion. As a comedy, blending out of drama, it works in every way, and just something that it's just unique and emotional, and just genius storytelling here in my opinion. It gets 100. It's not that far off of the tiers, in my opinion. It's close to my top 200 actually at the moment. It's just a stunning film. It really is mind blowing. I have to draw the line somewhere with tiers and stuff, but definitely this is very, very close. It's one of them films. That's not far off of being the tiers. This is something else. Mind blowing film. Love this film, just in every way. And if you've not seen it, of course, you know, this is a recommendation. Very underseen. I wouldn't say it's underrated in the sense of critics and stuff, but definitely, you know, kind of by a lot of people. You know, not too many people have seen this film, and you know, it's not, you know, maybe not as ranked as highly at times, you know, in Spielberg rankings as I think, you know, it kind of I would have thought it would be. Not that I say it has to be, but you know, it's, some people have just never seen the film, so it'd be interesting to hear, you know, if you've seen the film, what you think of it, and yeah, you know, of course, it's not one of my top 10 Spielbergs quite, but definitely one of his masterpieces. So yes, more Spielberg reviews coming soon, and you know, we've got The Last Crusade coming, you know, that I'm going to be watching within the next few days. Review for that should be up next week, and you know, cannot wait to rewatch that, of course. Rounding off the trilogy, of course, of Indiana Jones, and then, you know, maybe not immediately afterwards, but definitely, you know, sometime soon I'll be watching Crystal Skull. You know, definitely a dip there, of course, but it's a film I like, actually, personally. Then, of course, we have the 4K of Schindler's List that came pretty recently, and cannot wait to give this one a review. This is a special film, and yes, more reviews as well, you know, just ones that, you know, I don't love personally. Also, like The Terminal and stuff. Also, I did order one of the ones I've not seen before, Minority Report, on Blu-ray. That's a steelbook, should be coming next week, so cannot wait to watch that one. It's one that, you know, it's definitely, it's one I've been looking forward to for years, and never quite got around to it, but that'll be watched again. You know, that'll be one of the ones that I'll watch soon. So many Spielbergs, you know, kind of in a lineup here. You know, I cannot wait, of course, to dig into these once again, and ones that I haven't seen as well. So yes, tell me your thoughts in the comments, you know, on this film, and thanks for watching my review.